April 1945 marked the climax of World War II. In Europe, after nearly 6 years of relentless conflict, the Soviet Red Army amassed on the eastern banks of the Oder River, just 60 kilometers from Berlin. Hitler's Nazi regime, facing imminent collapse, prepared for a final, desperate defense of its capital. The Battle of Berlin would become a fierce and tragic last stand. Despite early Soviet advances to the Oder in January, logistical issues and the need to secure flanks delayed the final assault. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, fearing the Western Allies might seize Berlin first, dismissed assurances from Dwight Eisenhower and ordered the attack to begin in mid-April. This rushed timeline set the stage for a brutal confrontation. The Soviet plan was bold. Marshal Georgy Zhukov's 1st Belarusian Front would attack from the east, smashing through German defenses at Selo Heights. Marshal Ivan Konev's 1st Ukrainian Front would approach from the south, while Konstantin Rokossovsky's 2nd Belarusian Front secured the north. The combined force totaled 5 million soldiers, 6,000 tanks, and 40,000 artillery pieces. The German defenders, under General Gotthard Heinrici, numbered about 1 million, but many were poorly trained militia or Volkssturm units. Short on tanks, aircraft, and resources, they relied on hastily arranged defensive zones along the Oder. Their only hope was to delay the Red Army long enough for a miracle that would never come. On April 16th, Soviet artillery unleashed a devastating barrage. Zhukov's forces struggled against German traps and muddy terrain. When searchlights intended to blind the enemy instead illuminated Soviet troops, the assault bogged down. Under immense pressure, Zhukov made a costly decision to push tank armies through infantry lines, causing chaos and severe losses. The 3-day battle for Selo Heights cost the Soviets 33,000 lives, but finally broke German resistance. As Soviet forces surged forward, chaos engulfed Berlin. Hitler's fantasies of counterattacks dissolved as command structures collapsed. Top Nazi leaders fled, while desperate civilians and soldiers fought on. Thousands became trapped in the Halbi Pocket, a deadly encirclement where German troops and civilians faced annihilation. Despite General Wenck's efforts to save them, most perished. By April 25th, the Soviets surrounded Berlin. In the final days, brutal urban combat raged block by block. Soviet and German forces both committed atrocities. Executions, looting, and mass rape tarnished the last chapter of the war. For Berlin's remaining 7 million civilians, survival became a grim lottery. On May 2nd, Berlin finally fell. Hitler was dead, having taken his life on April 30th. Soviet flags rose above the Reichstag, symbolizing Nazi Germany's total defeat. The Battle of Berlin claimed hundreds of thousands of lives and left the city in ruins. A somber, smoldering end to a devastating war that had begun with ambition and ended in unimaginable horror.